Hi, Julie. How are you today?
Good. How are you?
Pretty good. I just wanted to start off with our first session by explaining a few things to you first. Everything we talk about in here is confidential unless you tell me that you're going to hurt yourself or someone else. Does that sound okay to you?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. So I also want to start out by getting to know you a little better. Can you tell me what brought you here today?
Yeah. Well, I had a DCS worker who referred me to your program because
Mhm.
I had a baby that was born addicted to drugs, and they kept her in the hospital for I think about 2 weeks on morphine to try to
Uh-huh.
help her with withdrawals. And then they took her away from me, and I just really want to get her back.
Families need recovery too because an addict affects an average of 7 people. Mainly those people are loved ones of the family. And the thing about this is most families are missing one key ingredient, and that's balance. And within that family that has an addict, the balance is so imbalanced that it's hard for the family to receive the help that they need. This is very dangerous because in turn the addict controls the family both mentally and physically, as well as emotionally and spiritually. It isn't healthy for every member to focus on the addict because they then neglect themselves. And when they do that, they're unable to keep themselves up physically, mentally, emotionally, or spiritually. When they spend all their time focused on the addict, then they're unable to focus.
Addiction is one of the greatest vices of our society. It is one of the toughest addictions to fight since it makes people literally lose the ability to make rational decisions. Getting the next hit
As well. There is a way for family members to recover from the damages of substance abuse. And the way that they can do that is they have to take the necessary and processes that the addict would even take when getting help. They don't see the dangers sometimes that are caused by the addict when they're around them emotionally and physically. The only difference is that they're not using the chemicals, but they still take on the same behavior patterns and they have to go through those emotions the same as an addict would. So when they're able to take initiative and the steps necessary to get the help they need, then they're able to, in turn, be an example for the addict, and then the addict will be able to get the help that they need. Family recovery has been very effective, and let me tell you how. Whenever the family members begin to take initiative and take the necessary steps to get the help that they need, the addict in turn has no other choice but to make the right decisions to get the help they need. Whenever a family member is proactive in the necessary processes and steps, they in turn are able to not only help others who are going through similar situations, but they're able to be the example needed for the addict to say, I can't do this anymore. I have to make a change in my life. And that's how we've been able to.
Night 19 families across Georgia and South Carolina are now loved ones after a deadly weekend on the road.
Leading to wrecks involving drivers who had too much to drink, something that is close to home for one Augusta family. George Lopez has this story.
That's right, Richard. Burying a child is something no parent wants to do, but Cassandra Tyler had to bury her child, mother, and cousin after a drunk driving accident. It's every mother's worst nightmare.
Like I said, your heart goes out to every family that you hear about, but it doesn't have that same sense of realness until it actually affects you.
It happened years ago, but still haunts her today. A warm summer night in 2004, her mother, daughter, and cousin were on the way to Disney World, but they never made it to the park.
They were minutes away. They were going to the hotel and they missed their exit.
June 5th, 2004 was the worst day of Linda Chapman's life.
We were at a wedding out in Farley, Iowa.
What started out as a celebration of new beginnings ended in the worst way.
She was having a good time, and I said to her, "You're not driving by any means, are you?" She said, "Oh God, no, Mom, I wouldn't drive." She says, "It cost me everything I've earned."
Nikki wasn't the only driver on the road that night. She was killed by a drunk driver.
His 3/4-ton truck hit a medium, crossed the 4-lane highway, became airborne and landed directly on their SUV.
The driver was charged with vehicular manslaughter and given 2 25-year prison sentences. But Linda was sentenced as well.
I have to live with a death sentence. I can only go to a grave to visit my daughter.
Now Linda knows there are some things you never forget.
There's not a night that I don't go to bed and I think about my daughter and that violent death, all caused because one young man thought he could drink and drive.
And to honor Nikki's memory, Linda tells her story, hoping it will save other families the pain of losing a loved one.
This should have never happened. This was a completely preventable death.
You went through it.
Went through it, yeah.
For what were you addicted?
I had a little problem with alcohol. It wasn't really a problem. Everybody had it, but it was the idea.
You were.
I was an alcohol, a drunk.
You were a drunk.
Well, that's nice of you to say that.
You said it first.
Yeah, you know, you wake up in a field with a road flare nicely placed. What's your name? It's gonna be fun.
What happens in rehab?
What happens? You dry out.
No, I mean, what?
What happens is people basically start the process of, you know, just saying no and being among others, you know, and learning that you're not alone and working on giving up, you know, giving up that you could do it yourself because everyone's saying, I got this under control, Gary. Listen to me.
How do you, though?
Today we're listing Hollywood's top 10 drug addicts. Number 10 on our list is Lindsay Lohan. Here she is. She said that she grew up in a chaotic home. She also said that she tried drugs 10 to 15 times in an interview with Oprah Winfrey. She got herself admitted to the Wonderland Rehab Center. Her father, Michael Lohan, takes the blame on himself and said that it wasn't Lindsay's mistake for getting into drugs, and that it was actually because of family problems between him and his wife, Dina. Her drug of choice was cocaine, but recently she was captured in a photo where she was about to hold a bottle of liquor. So clearly she's not clean. If you ask me, a spade's a spade.
Are you an addict?
Yeah.
And what is it you are addicted to? What is your drug of choice or drugs of choice?
Alcohol. Yeah. Because that in the past was a gateway to other things for me.
Other things.
I'd never abused. I tried cocaine with alcohol, and I'd never
That's
done
when
those
you were
things
arrested the
without
first time,
alcohol.
correct?
Yeah, possession.
Yeah,
I had it.
possession, yes. Then I read that you said that you really hadn't done cocaine but 3 or 4 times.
I really hadn't done it. I really haven't done it more than 10 to 15 times. Of course, I said 3 or 4. I was terrified of being judged.
So what is the truth?
I've done it like 10 to 15 times. And
Do you
it's
enjoy
always,
doing it?
everything's come
Do you enjoy
No.
doing it?
No, I never
So why
felt
do you
good
do
the
it?
next day. It
Why do
never.
you?
Statistics show 100 people die every day from a drug overdose in the United States, and 3 out of 4 of those are caused by prescription painkillers.
They decided that.
Says hundreds of people die from prescription drug overdoses each year in Oklahoma. New rules cracking down on painkillers should mean less overdoses. But is it punishing the people who really need those meds? KOC's Brian Shalonsky is live tonight with more on these rules. Brian?
Well, Paul, you said it. OBN, every year they find that hundreds of people here in our state die from prescription drug overdoses. Now, the DEA hopes that cracking down on painkillers can cut down on some of those overdose deaths. But some medical experts here in Oklahoma say that it's actually the people who really do need these medications who are being punished. Widely used and widely abused, more than 100,000 Americans have overdosed on prescription painkillers in the last decade. Val List has seen firsthand a loved one battling addiction.
It's very difficult to see somebody that you love because, you know, when you get addicted to any kind of pharmaceutical drug or recreational drug, it could lead to death.
David Revelis is a student at Elmhurst College. At age 14, the star wrestler began smoking marijuana and quickly moved on to prescription drugs.
6 months after my first marijuana use, I dabbled into other stuff. I don't even remember what I was doing. Whatever I could get my hands on.
Revelis says he struggled through high school in and out of 9 treatment centers. Thanksgiving 2004, an 18-wheeler hit Cheryl Edwards' car. She fractured her neck and soon became addicted to prescription painkillers.
You take pain pills for a length of time, and when you go through withdrawals, that causes pain. Withdrawals cause pain. I looked at pills as my lifeline. I had to have those to operate, to function.
Edwards says she continually put herself and her family at risk.
Buying pills from a drug dealer that carried a 9mm and was proud to tell everyone about it.
She lost her home, her marriage fell apart, and her son Stephen also became an addict. It is a
I was drinking a lot, like every day, and then it just kind of like, I took a step back and like saw that I was really drinking every day. It was getting expensive. It was getting to the point where I wasn't waking up for certain appointments, and it was really affecting my life.
And that's part of the healing too, is just knowing what the limitations are. I can't do it alone. I mean, I know that, and I'm not going to try to say that I can. But what I will do is once I realize that I share these things, you know, I do so in such a way where I know that it's with a confidence in those around me, the community, the family, whatever it is, to be able to respond to that in a positive way.
The first thing I tried was just the 12-step program through AA. They do a real good job of, you know, keeping it under wraps. It's just you're admitting you have a problem, you know, go and get the help.
I know I was probably down 2 bottles and that's it. You know, I don't want to get to that point. I'd be drunk and just acting stupid. So at the end, I went to go see a psychiatrist at VA who helped me out a lot. He actually did help me out. You know, he got me to a point that, you know, you have to control your life. Don't let it control you.